It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
Well, just as everyone predicted, South Dakota State's baseball team has won the Summit League Tournament Championship for the first time in 13 years. And for the first time under Rob Bishop, they are headed to the NCAA Tournament. They'll be in Lincoln on Friday at 3 o'clock against Nebraska, the number 13 overall seed. They're hosting their first regional in a long time. This comes a couple weeks after USD softball did very similar things to SDSU baseball, just finished and won when it counted the most, and headed to Lincoln, Nebraska to try to make some noise from the Summit League. And the head coach, Jackrabbit Baseball, Rob Bishop, now in his 10th season, joining us. It's been a whirlwind, as you described it, since the 9-6 win over the juggernaut Oral Roberts on Saturday in the championship round. And this is just the 5th time in 27 seasons that someone other than Oral Roberts won the Summit League Championship. So anytime you're one of those teams, it's a huge accomplishment, right? And you know, you've had a few days to process it. But tell me, Rob, how this was the Jackrabbit team to do it. Why do you think everything kind of led to that moment in the big dog pile on Saturday? And congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's an interesting. I hadn't thought of it really in that perspective, but yeah, I mean the tournament has always kind of gone, or the championship's always gone through ORU for sure. I mean they're that have been a powerhouse, and obviously they went to the World Series in '23, and have just made a huge commitment to baseball there, and the second part of your question about why is this team, I just think that this is a really resilient, gritty, tough group. We are by far the youngest team in the Summit League as far as, guys that are playing every day. We had 6 seniors on the championship game. The only senior on the field was Ty Madison, who finished the game on the mound. Everyone else is, an underclassman, a couple juniors, and a lot of underclassmen. So, it isn't that, we have all this experience. It's just a gritty, tough group that, had belief. And I think that's part of it when you have a team that's dominated for so long, just having the belief that you can do it and then executing when you need to.
Okay. You make that sound so easy, but you guys were 0-6 against Oral Roberts this year, and then go 2-1 against them in the Summit League Tournament, and you beat them in the very first round. That was the first time apparently they've been in the losing bracket in a long time, if ever. And this isn't all on your tab, but SDSU's 0-19 against Oral Roberts all time in the Summit League Tournament. So how, what specific aspects? Belief is great. You got to have that before anything else. Mm-hmm. And grittiness is awesome. Certainly takes that when you're a big underdog and have that prior record. But what kind of changed to bump this team into that level where you could beat them 2 out of 3 times when it counted the most?
Well, I think I told someone else this morning doing an interview that, obviously our record against them in the tournament was not good through the history of, us at the D1 level.
Yeah.
But if you look at ORU, I think their winning percentage is above 950 in the conference tournament. So, literally nobody has beaten them very many times. So I think when you look at the 6 games we played them this year, there were 4 of them that were highly contested games, and just a play here, a hit there, and in my mind we should have probably won 1 game in each of those series, but it just didn't happen. So our conference record even didn't look as good as we played because of that 0-6 against them. We won a bunch of series in a row up until the very last weekend of the conference season. So we had confidence that we could play well. and that we could play well enough. I think the difference this weekend was our starting pitching. The strength of our pitching staff's been our bullpen this year, and this weekend, Sam Schlecht comes out and goes deep into the game, and in the second game, Caden Rylance, a freshman from Watertown, goes deep in the game, and so that we turn it over to that really good bullpen, and they only had 3 outs and 6 outs to get with a lead. So if you're going to your bullpen in the 4th or 5th inning, that's a little taller order. So we just we played from ahead, and we had lots of different contributions offensively. We played great defense all year. I would say, you have to. The team that wins the league and that wins the tournament every year fields 975 or above, and we did that this year. And ORU was the only team in the league that defended better than us throughout the 60-game season. So we played a really good defense. We got on base a lot, and we got some timely hitting in the conference tournament.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of that. And this is an interview about the Jacks, but I mean, Summit League Baseball has gone through Oral Roberts, and so we've certainly hammered home how dominant they've been against everybody in the league for forever. And geographically, it makes a lot of sense. But this is where I ask you, as someone who has coached in the league for a decade, you've got several teams up here in the north where we have winters and it's cold, and you can't play. You can't play some baseball games until you probably hit mid-March at best, and a lot of them get canceled and postponed because of the weather. So what's it like to recruit and compete when you're all the way up here? They're the one team that's down there. I mean, it would seem obvious that would be the team that would get the best players and just have the advantage because they're going to get players in their region. Why would they want to come up here? And then
Right.
they're going to get players from up here who want to go play where it's warm. So I guess the question is it as challenging as it appears?
Well, I think, and with Omaha making their, Omaha has just a big time facility, and they have, the College World Series there and better weather, and Northern Colorado recently coming into the league, they have better weather. So you have us and St. Thomas and NDSU that really are all in the same boat where we're going to play our first 25 to 30 games on the road. And it doesn't matter at what level of sports you're in or what sport it is, to be honest. I mean, if you played 70% of your basketball schedule on the road, you wouldn't have as good a record. It is just a function of it. The travel is difficult.
Sure.
You aren't playing in friendly environments that want you to win. You're dealing with all the things that the road team or the visiting team deals with. So I think in our case, we just really place an emphasis on playing the best possible preseason against the best possible teams, not scheduling with the final win-loss record, in mind. Like, we are simply trying to prepare our guys to play well in the last 6 weeks where we can win the tournament. So we've been in that championship game a few times in my time here. This was the first time we've been in that championship game where somebody had to beat us twice. We've been in the championship game coming through the back door where we've had to win twice, and it's always been ORU, that we had to beat twice, and we haven't gotten that accomplished. So this team just happened to kind of cash it in. We've had a lot of teams that, in my mind, if the chips fell correctly, we could do it. Somebody asked me this the other day. It was actually an administrator from one of the other teams in the league, and we were talking about ORU and how they've had a stronghold on it. And, I compare it to AJ and the women's basketball program. And, you're not why isn't Denver better? Why can't Denver just hire a new coach and go beat AJ? And it's like, well, he's got 30 years of dominance, and recruiting players that come there because they want to win and they know they're going to win, and the facility and the commitment and the fan base. And there's all kinds of little factors that are big factors, at the end of it. And I would say, does that mean that they're going to win a championship every year? Nope, but they're going to be in a position to most years, and I would say, that's kind of what ORU has done. So we're just hoping to. NDSU has won a couple of times, and Omaha won it once, and so we're happy to join the club of a team that's kind of tipped over the giant, and
Yeah.
hopefully it just opens up the door for us to be in this position more often.
Sure.
To say we're going to do it every year when they've got the weather and they've got some resource advantages and some other thing. I don't know if that's realistic, but I know we can be competitive every single year. We're recruiting within a 6 or 8 hour radius of Brookings. Kids that played quarterback and point guard and hockey in high school, and our idea is that we're going to try to find kids that have their best baseball ahead of them, and so if you look around our diamond, I mean, they're very, very few baseball only kids. Like, they all played multiple sports, and many of them are from small towns, and so it's a big level adjustment, but that the other thing about that kid is they're generally hardworking, and generally they have a good moral compass, and that school's important to them, and their friends are important to them, and so we have a group of guys that really enjoys celebrating their teammates' successes, and so that we don't have a lot of ego, we don't have much selfishness or any of that kind of stuff. A lot of coaches have to deal with a lot of that. We have great kids, and I mean, I would enjoy taking our kids to the lake for a weekend. I mean, They are great kids. It's the travel's easy, the having them in any environment is easy because they're just good human beings, and they're 18 to 22-year-old college kids, so they're not perfect, but they're a really good group to work with. So I feel like really fortunate to be in the spot that we're in.
Okay, this is just me and living in my own little world and head. So if it doesn't compute with you at all, that's fine. A lot of what you're describing is what now former USD softball coach Robert Wagner was telling me about his Coyote softball team and how they won the Summit League tournament. Made the NCAA tournament with a losing record, and kind of what he has to recruit to, and who he plays with, and what the team was like this year, quality of human wise, team chemistry wise. And so I guess I'll ask you, I'm sure you were aware, even though it's the rival school in the state, which doesn't have a baseball team, but did you notice that at all? Did you take any stock or inspiration out of what USD softball did?
Well, I think I definitely followed them. Shannon Pivovar, their assistant, used to be here, so
right.
I know Piv pretty well, and I just really believe firmly, and I've seen this many times, that you need to have talent. You have to have good players. Like, I understand that, but I've seen a lot of really talented teams not be very good because they don't have the other it factors. So I've seen them kind of put it together, and seeing our softball team put it together, and other programs on SDSU's campus, where they just really put a good run together. And you're biased when you're an SDSU fan and you're watching our team, and you want to say, we have more talent, but the reality of it is there's such a fine line between first place and fourth place in any sport at this level. So that stuff matters. I mean, if the team is tired of each other near the end of the season, you are not going to get the best result out of them. So our guys they were as fired up about anything that they earned at least another week together. Like, it's just a great group of guys.
Well, I mean, again, the storylines are similar in that USD had to play the play-in game of the Summit League tournament just to then, okay, now we're going to take on the number one seed, that was Omaha, and beat them. You guys did the same thing. You didn't need a play-in game, but you had to beat Oral Roberts right away. I mean, that just completely sets things in such a better direction for you, and it's a position not too many at ORU are familiar or comfortable with. So, and you mentioned how much better your starting pitching got as the year went on. You're coming off a 3-game sweep. You lost all 3 at Omaha. You mentioned before that you're getting better. You had won 5 of 6 and 9 of 12 before the Omaha series, so you had something there, and they were the number 2 seed. So no hanging your head losing to them. But winning that first game against Oral Roberts out of the gates, I mean, you came into this tournament with a 7 ERA. What did that do for the guys' confidence? It sounded like they were together and confident coming in and nothing to lose. I know that's been said as well, just the nothing to lose attitude. But what did that first win do for the rest of the weekend?
Well, I think obviously you feel like, hey, they're the 1 seed for a reason. They were 20-5 or whatever they were in the regular season. It'd be hard to say that they earned the right to be called the best team there. So you come out and beat the best team, and honestly do it pretty handily. They had a 2-run home run late that made it 7-4, 7-3. We were running away with that game. So it was a game that I felt like we were in control of the entire time, and I think the nature of it was really good. Knowing the other 2 teams in Northern Colorado and Omaha, either one of those teams that we were playing, like we felt like, we'd have a good opportunity to win that game. So I think we just we had confidence, we got a little momentum, and you see that a lot where, it's the hot team that wins. There all kinds of times there's, growing up, I'm just a big baseball fan in general, but I watched Fresno State be the 4 seed in their regional and roll all the way to a College World Series win, and they did it on, 2 pitchers basically did all the work, right, the whole time. But that's an extreme example, but you just see teams that get really hot. In our league, we see it a lot because we play each team 3 times, and then the second half of the season you play them again at the other site. Sure. And you'll play a team early and handle them, and then you play them later and they're hot and you can't get them out, and you're like, how is this even the same team? But it's just, it's 6 weeks. It's 6 weeks later, and teams are different, and the dynamic's different, and this hitter's hot, this pitcher's hurt, whatever. I mean, the deal changes a little bit, and I think the end of the year, we just felt like we were in a good spot. We got a little bit healthier. Owen Seegert, our starting center fielder, was out for 8 weeks, and he's our leadoff hitter.
Yeah,
and he makes us go. And so we lost him early in the conference season. And we had Luke Robleski and Carter Taylor in the outfield really step up and have to fill those shoes. And so Owen Seegert got back in that Omaha series and had a good weekend. And then he just played his butt off in the conference tournament, and he ended up being on the all-conference team and a tournament team. And, I mean, he's a super dynamic player. It'd be like, getting your star point guard back in time for the tournament. So he changes us. He made us a better team. So we and at the same time, we developed some other guys, that in his absence. So those guys continue to contribute. Carter Taylor had a huge hit in the championship game. And he may not have even had all those opportunities if Owen had been healthy. So just a fun story all the way around.
Yeah, when things start to come together, you've mentioned Caden Rylance, the freshman from Watertown, 6 shutout innings in the semifinal win over Northern Colorado that got you to that round. I mean, I'll repeat, freshman. So what are some things behind his development to where he had that kind of day on such a big stage?
Well, he had flashes of being really good throughout the year, and it's an interesting thing just with the spring sports in general. The season's so long that I feel like generally the freshmen, they can. I've had plenty of freshmen have a good first half or a good second half. It's really hard for a new kid, an 18-year-old kid, to be good for 60 games. Caden had a couple good outings, a couple poor outings, had bounced up and down, and a guy like him in Watertown, like every time I went and watched him, he struck out 14 guys and just dominated, right? He hadn't ever been hit around or faced adversity really in his baseball career. So he had to deal with some of that, and so he threw against Omaha and really threw 5 really good innings the week before. He gave up a 3-run home run. It was really the only bad pitch he made, and pitched really well and was feeling good physically, and so I think he just honestly came out in that first inning really confident, got off to a good start. His stuff is really good. He has 3 pitches that are above average, and I knew recruiting him that he, at some point in his career, he's gonna be a really good player. He just has kind of peaked at the right time. So to have a senior do it on the first day and a freshman do it on the second day was great. And then Drew McDowell in the first championship game is a sophomore, and he went deep into that game and gave us a chance. And and that was more important than I would say the average fan would recognize, because staying really tight in that game, Oral Roberts had to use their better bullpen guys to finish that game. So it really gave us an advantage in the second game. And then Sam Novotny's been good for us on the mound all year, and he went out and gave us 3 or 4 innings and just handed the ball over to the bullpen.
Well, yeah. So, you kind of started to answer the next question. Is you've got the 800-pound gorilla, and you had beaten them in the first game, and then you get to the championship round against them, and then they have to beat you twice, and they beat you once, and you feel like, well, the momentum's on their side, their confidence is swelling. But in this sport, in softball, it does come down to pitching, and so you just mentioned it. You kind of, how good did you really feel about that second game? And then Ty Madison came in for relief. He ended up being the tournament MVP. 10 innings, 1 earned run, 5 hits the whole tournament. Just walk me through your mentality, the team's body language through that clinching game after you just lost your first opportunity to knock them out.
Yeah, well, I think the first game, their guy pitched really well. Farrell, he just kind of dominated the game. Threw tons of strikes and made it really hard for us to get a leadoff guy on. So we just didn't really have many opportunities offensively. And when we did have an opportunity, we scored a run, and their outfielder made a great play to throw a kid out at third base and end kind of our only real threat. And so they had all the momentum. And then we, in between games, we just kind of said, look, like if you're on their side, you feel a little bit better. But the reality of it is we're 1-1 against these guys in the tournament, and whoever wins this game is the champion. So it don't read into it whether you feel bad because we just lost or they feel good because they just won. It doesn't matter. Let's not be emotional. Just play each pitch and do our thing. And then we started the next game, and they scored 2 right away in the first, and you think, here we go. And then we hit 2 solo home runs in the bottom of the first, and I really just thought that just calmed us down. And really from that point, it was 2-2, but at that point you could feel in our dugout we felt like we were going to win that game, and we really just played that way the rest of the game. We played with great energy and just positivity, and everything wasn't perfect, and we didn't play perfect, but we felt like we were going to win, and that matters. Like if you have that confidence and you feel you have that vibe in your dugout, it matters. And so our guys genuinely believed it, and they brought in their best bullpen guy, who was the pitcher of the year in the league, and we hit him around a little bit, and they had to pull him, and that is that's a big momentum shift to knock their best guy out, and so it just really put us in a big advantage spot.
Yeah. Well, Carter Taylor, it looks like, had the game-winning hit. I mean, we could go on and on with a bunch of guys on the team and their stories behind all these big moments for them, but obviously a bunch of them did it. And so when the final out was recorded, look, you've been the head coach for a decade. You knew, obviously, as a guy coming from Montana, an even more northern place to play and coach baseball, you know what you're getting into. coaching in South Dakota, but it's been 10 years, and this was the first, and it's just such a hard league to win for the aforementioned Oral Roberts. So what was that moment like for you and your staff, and what will you always remember about it?
Well, I think I will remember honestly just standing there with our coaches, watching how excited the guys were, and watching that dog pile, and just seeing all of that emotion and all of the struggles and the ups and downs of the year kind of come out in a positive way. And we've been on that other side enough times, right, where you're standing in front of that other dugout watching the other team celebrate the championship. And so just really gratifying, and just honestly just really happy for our players. And I told the guys after the game, whether we win or we lost that game, like it's not going to change like how the coaches feel about these guys as human beings. But it doesn't matter. As competitors, you tie your worth to, did you get the result that you're looking for? And so it was just so fun for those two things to match up, and our guys just to really get to enjoy like a really loud, fun bus ride home. And then the selection show at Cubbies was an awesome experience, and now we're kind of we want to be in the mode that we're going to enjoy it, but like we're not, we're going to Lincoln to compete.
Sure.
So we've had 2 good practices, and we'll have another one tomorrow morning, and then we get to practice in Lincoln on Thursday. And we have 5 Nebraska kids, and almost all, like I said before, almost all of our kids on our team are from Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota,
Right.
Nebraska, North Dakota. So like we'll have a ton of families there, and I'm sure we'll have a ton of Jackrabbit fans there as well. But when you're playing the host site, I'm sure there's going to be 8,500 Nebraska fans there too. So
Yes.
I mean, it should just be a great environment. I mean, if you don't love that as a competitor, then you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah,
athlete. So, it'll be fun.
The Sea of Red is strong. I was a student at Nebraska when they made their first College World Series in their last season in the old dump, and it was a dump that they played in Buck Belzer Field. And then the next year they made it back in their first year in Haymarket. And I'm sure you saw the softball crowds. But it's gonna be. But don't you want that? That's what a lot of the coaches in the Summit League for basketball who get the Summit League tournament, and why it's in Sioux Falls, and why it should be in Sioux Falls forever. The ones that have to come from everywhere else to play road games against the Jacks and occasionally the Yotes. But the ones that get it, to me, just say, you want that, right? You want 8,000. You even if they're all cheering against you. I'm going to guess that they're all excited to go to that particular venue.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we played if you asked our guys what were their favorite series to play in this year, they will tell you Tarleton State, who's a regional team. We beat them 2 out of 3 early, and their crowd was all over us. And, and their students, and they're a good crowd, great facility, and it was intense. We played at Nebraska midweek earlier this year. We played a 2-game series midweek at Oklahoma State, which was just an unbelievable environment. And it doesn't matter the results of those games. Like our guys forever are going to remember like that feeling of playing at Oklahoma State, on a Tuesday, and a couple of the top hitters in the entire country you're facing those guys just like anyone else is. And so just a really fun challenge. You have Nebraska, you have Arizona State, and you have Ole Miss. It's like there's not a regional that I've seen that has 3 just blue blood baseball programs. So it's a great regional. I'm excited that we can drive there. It's someplace we've played. Our guys you're never going to be comfortable when you're in a hostile environment.
Right.
It's going to be as comfortable as it could be. We've experienced the travel there and playing there and practicing there, and so it's as good a draw as we could have.
Yeah, I mean that probably can help a little bit. You've at least been down there. You played a competitive game with them midweek in March. The 5 Nebraskans: Brady Brown, Nate Wachter, who was a part of the Summit League All-Tournament team, as was Ty Madison, your ace reliever, Jacob Schutz, Sam Novotny, who's the starter for the championship clinching game. So
Yep.
those are the guys who will have a little extra pep in their step, and probably are hearing about ticket requests from family.
Oh, no question they are. Yes, yeah. I mean, and so they said they're having friends come out of the woodworks, right? That
Yeah,
they haven't heard from in a while. So
right.
because the Nebraska fans are having a hard time getting tickets. So
Yes.
yeah, I mean it's I think the stadium holds 8,800 people without the berm, so they're probably 10,000 maybe
Right. Yeah.
total. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be easy to get a ticket to any game that Nebraska's playing in there.
Yeah. Will Bolt, their head coach, has mentioned that they're aiming for 10,000. I don't know if they've ever had it there. If they have, it was for the couple super regionals they had a long time ago.
Yeah.
What's the message? What's going to be your message to them, or is there going to be anything different from what you told them before and during the Summit League tournament?
Well, I think, if you say it's going to be exactly the same, like they're going to see right through that. We're playing, these are better teams and it's a tougher environment. But the thing that we've kind of hung our hat on all year is that if we just play a clean version of baseball, we can compete with anybody. And if the team on the field has more talent than you, all you're really looking for is a chance to win the game in the seventh, eighth, ninth inning. So if you're if you're if you feel like you're overmatched, and I've talked to several of our coaches in my time here about how they handle the NCAA tournament or how you handle football playoffs or the nationals in wrestling or whatever it is where you're going against great competition, and they all say the same thing, like you want to come down to the last 5 minutes with a chance to win, and if you do that, then you got to feel good about it. And midweek games are different in baseball because nobody's throwing their best guys, but we lose to Nebraska 5-4 in a midweek earlier this year, and we had a couple chances late and just couldn't get the big hit. The previous two times that we've played Nebraska in the last 3 years at their place, we've beaten them. So we beat them 3 or 4 years ago, and then I think we were rained out a game, and then the last time we played them at their place, we actually had Thatcher Kozel had a 2-home run night, who was a Omaha kid, and we beat him, and a Nebraska kid got the save in Dylan Dreesen, who's now in the Cardinals organization. So this year we lose 5-4. So we feel like we can go play with anybody, on any given day. Oklahoma State's a top 20 team, and it took they had to fight for every out to beat us twice in a row. So we feel like we just have to play good, clean baseball. So you can't give them extra outs, you can't walk them, you can't make errors. They're going to get their hits, they're going to do good baseball things because they're a good team. But I would say it's like playing a football or basketball game, and if you have turnovers, you're going to lose if you're facing a good team. Like you just can't do that. So you can't walk people, you can't make errors. And we've played pretty clean defense all year, so we just need to keep that up and make them earn everything they get.
Well, hey, it's just like Oral Roberts. You get a team that's used to winning, expects to win, just behind, and the longer you hang around with them, the better chance you probably have. And I will tell you, Nebraska crowds there. Nebraska fans are a little PTSD over football the last 20 years. Just the way goofy things end. Volleyball getting upset in the Elite Eight. They were supposed to win the national championship. So Husker fans have a little here we go again. So we'll see if you're in that thing in the late innings, and how that's going to be just a blast to watch. So happy for you. And by the way, I'll ask. I've got one South Dakota State question in general, but the show's called Happy Hour. We ask first-time guests your happy hour drink of choice, celebrating a Summit League championship, or just the end of a long week. What's the go-to?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. It's probably whatever Cubby's newest local IPA is.
Okay.
So I'm like I will try anything. So if there's not anything like that, then it's probably just like an ice cold Modelo. Yeah,
Well,
that's
okay,
probably it.
very
Yep,
specific. I love it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, the Modelo type, that's definitely, I'm getting more into the Mexican lagers lately. I've gone through my
Mm,
IPA phase. Not that
mhm,
I won't have one every now and then,
mhm,
but it's not like that's not
mhm.
what I have every time, for
Yep.
like a decade. But it's weather related as well, right? I
Yes.
mean,
Yep.
you're
After you
probably,
mow the lawn and it's 90 degrees, like
it's more
there's
of a Modelo time, yes.
yes, yes.
Not going to pound IPAs out on the boat, um, or 90 degrees at a baseball game. So I'll give you the opportunity. We've had other Jackrabbit coaches just talk about the not just within the football program or within the men's and women's basketball teams, but just in the campus and the community overall, just how everybody says it's special. I just read the Stig book
Mhm.
about all of that. For you, for a decade, how would you classify it? Just working in this athletic department and the people you see every day, Justin Sell, and all that. What it means to be a
Well,
Jackrabbit.
I think it, it we're all, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you have a great environment, you're in the people business. And I think that, like, and it's South Dakota in general, but South Dakota State, we just have great people in this department that care about each other, and it's no different than any other team. If you have a bunch of people that are doing their own thing and they're in it for their own interest, and they don't have a vested interest in anyone else doing well, or there's jealousy or, any of that kind of stuff, it's just not an enjoyable deal. So we just don't have that. I mean, I think I told somebody the other day, I got on the bus and 5 minutes after we won that baseball game, I think I had 150 text messages from, and it started with the current head coaches that are here and assistant coaches and administrators and former players and boosters and alumni, and I mean just like the overall group of people. And that's and social media helps you reach a larger swath of people for sure. But I just think it's a special spot because people are genuinely happy when things are going well. And I'll tell anyone this that'll listen, like, I love coaching the Jackrabbit baseball team, but my next favorite thing is going to all the other Jackrabbit events. So I'm at everything. That's my hobby. I love getting to know the other athletes and getting to kind of see what makes the different programs tick. And we have all kinds of coaches with all kinds of different personalities that do it their own way. And that's healthy to see that. Yeah, everybody's got to do it within their own personality. And
Sure.
and we all have challenges, and anybody in any job, if you care about it, you have challenges. So I think the best part, I have a great coaching staff that, like, they are the glass is half full. Like, I mean, we are looking at what we have and what we can do with what we have, and not spending a lot of time focusing on, man, ORU has this or Omaha has this. There's just not a lot of productivity in that. So it's been a fun ride, and it makes it all the more fun to do it in a department where people care.
Yeah, I know. So many people are happy for you. You know that based off of the
Yep.
texts that
Hmm.
they already liked you and win or lose, but now that you got one, they couldn't even be happier for you. And was there just this is the last one? Was there just a slight part of you that was just kind of football for 2 decades, women's basketball for 3 decades, men's basketball for I mean, so many great traditions, and then softball, volleyball. They've come on. They've gotten hot and hoisted some Summit trophies the last few years, and track and field and cross country forever. Wrestling. Was there a part of you that was just kind of like, can we get one? Like, did you feel like I gotta get one for us?
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is like we feel pressure in a good way.
Yeah.
That hey, there's so much success around us that we want to be a part of it, And I think we really believe in our process and that we're doing a good job bringing great kids that graduate on time and they're good teammates and good alums and good representatives of SDSU, but you still want to win, And Stig texted me and said, "Okay, congratulations, isn't winning fun?" And it's like, there's a guy that he didn't win national championships every year for 30 some years, right? I mean, they had an unbelievable run the last 10, 12, 15 years, but there was a lot of struggle to get to that point. So, he was the same guy. When I was a GA here in the 90s, he was the same guy. I mean, they didn't have facilities, they weren't winning everything, but he was the same guy that knew the GAs by name and was a good human being and just cared about people in general. So it's really fun to see, the Eric Hendersons and the John Stiglmeyers and the good people have just tons of success. And you can say that about a lot of our programs. So it's fun to be a part.
Hey, congrats. Thank you. This is longer than most interviews go, so I appreciate you sticking with it and telling the story. And I'm glad you guys won, so you have the opportunity to tell it more. And then you'll have a bunch of new fans on Friday afternoon in Lincoln on ESPN Plus. So safe travels and thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
Stay right there, Rob. We have to make sure people beyond you and me got to hear this, although if it was only you and me, it was worth my time. He's Rob Bishop, SDSU baseball coach. And for not Cordell Wright, because he wasn't here today, I'm John. Happy hour and cheers.
You need anything else, John?
No, I think I'm good, Greg. I think I'm going to tap out.
All right. Have a good night.